how you doing? It's your friend here, John Madrid, with John Madrid's Factory Direct Homes. So first and foremost, I'd like to start these videos off by telling you guys thank you for the support. Thank you for calling us, texting us, emailing us, liking these videos, commenting on these videos, sharing them, and referring us your friends and family. We really appreciate that, okay? So what I like to do in return is provide you guys, good content and educational subjects about questions that you guys most likely have, but haven't asked yet or haven't thought about yet. So I've been doing this for a decade now, and there's a lot of recurring questions, which are good questions, and you guys need to know the answers to so you guys can be better prepared, right? So in a nutshell, today's topic's going to be how changing jobs affects your ability to buy, or how long do I have to be on my job? That's basically the same question, because typically if somebody asks me, how long do I have to be on my job? That doesn't really mean they've already started working. That just means they recently changed jobs. So that's basically the topic that we're touching on today, how changing jobs can affect you. Now again, I never discourage anybody from applying. Keep in mind, I don't even ask you for a deposit. We skip that process. I have you do the application. I get you pre-qualified. Then I just have you send us the down payment. That way you don't feel like you're having to pay to get an approval. Let me do my job for you first and prove that I can get you an approval before you send me any kind of money, all right? But either way, again, this is not all of the ways. I like to do an overview to kind of give you guys an idea. If you have more detailed questions you'd like to ask, I'm here for you. Call, text, email me. Whatever works best for you works best for us. All right, so number one, is it in the same field? And when I say the same field, let me just give you one example of thousands. Let's say that you're a CDL driver, okay? And you've been a CDL driver for 10 years, kind of like my father who owns the construction company that does the deliveries and stuff. All right. So let's say, for example, that he's been a driver or a CDL driver for 10 years, and then he changes companies, right? Let's say he goes from ABC to DEF, all right, but he's still a driver. Okay, so that way the bank really won't see, in other words, it doesn't count against you because you're still a driver, and you have a proven record of the income that you make in the field that you're in, right? So again, they may tell you, hey, well, you got to be at least, 60 days on the job. Before we can close. Things like that. And I'm not saying that's a rule of thumb. I'm just saying, worst case scenario, you may have to wait a month or two. Or if you think to yourself, I just changed companies, but I'm doing the same job, been there for 6 months, you're good. So if you have the experience in the field, no need to sweat it. Now on the offside, let's say, for example, that you were working, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying, let's say you were a chef, right? You're working as a cook or something at Chili's or wherever. And then you become a CDL driver. That's different because now you have changed careers, so you're no longer in the same field, right? So that may affect you. But in that scenario, you're probably making a lot more money as a driver than you were as a cook. And I'm not saying that's the case, but it could be, right? So let's just say in there. So again, that might not necessarily hurt you, but it could affect you. And that's going to be point number 2 that I'm going to touch on, okay? So again, just kind of saying, are you in the same field? Did you change fields? That may be something they take into consideration. All right. So number 2, did you change jobs, number 1, and are you making more money or less money, right? So again, you would think, well, if I changed, I'm making more. Well, that's not always the case. There's times that people get laid off and they take another job and it just doesn't happen to pay as much. Whatever is the case. So again, it's changing careers or changing jobs. There's a lot more than just I changed jobs. There's a lot of little intricacies, and that's the reason I tell you apply, because I can advise you, I can facilitate you, but I'm not the lenders, and that's why we try to shop you to multiple banks to try to get you the best deals. All right. So again, let's say in that previous scenario where you went from a cook to a CDL driver, and let's say you're making triple now, which would be like 300% more, and I'm just making up numbers. Certain lenders will accept your pay increase, but they won't give you the full 300%, right? They'll only give you, let's say, 150 or something like that. In other words, they have to be kind of realistic and say, okay, well, you've changed jobs, but we're kind of in unknown territories. We're not sure if it's always going to be 300% more. So again, there's some details in there. but just want to kind of educate you on the expectations to have. Again, don't not apply because you recently changed jobs. By all means, and you're always going to hear me tell you, apply today. Let's make a game plan, because even if we get turned down, they will give us a roadmap on how to turn that denial into an approval. All right? And then lastly, and again, this isn't everything, is it a chattel loan you're trying to do or a land home? Now again, if you're trying to do a land home, there's a lot more requirements on the land home side. So recently changing jobs, again, depending on the first two factors, could stop you from buying a house, and it could delay it a year or two. So again, I mean, if you're in the process of buying a house and you're thinking of changing jobs, get the house first, then change jobs, okay? That way you don't, end up waiting another year or two to buy a house. Now, if you are only doing the home, again, I'm not telling you to change jobs until after you get the house, but if you only need a house loan because you have land or you're going to go into community or family land or lease land, in other words, one of those chattel loans, then you're most likely going to have to wait a lot less than you would on a land home, okay? Now, again, guys, this is not all the details of how changing jobs can affect you, but it kind of highlights some of the most important things to think about. Now, again, don't hesitate to call, text, and email me. También hablamos español, so no crea que no hablamos español aquí. Si podemos ayudarle y asistirle. Si tienen preguntas de cualquier cosa sobre su casa, márcanos. Mándanos un mensaje por texto, por Facebook, por email electrónico, lo que prefieren. And as you can see, guys, we are bilingual here. So if you speak English and Spanish but prefer to speak Spanish, I got you covered, okay? And again, this is John Madrid with John Madrid's Factory Direct Homes. And today we spoke about how changing jobs could affect you. It's not saying it will, but it could, and how it might, okay? So again, make sure you call, text, email us. Keep in mind that we can serve you all over Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. So you are not too far for us to help you. Again, guys, thanks again. It's here, your friend, John Madrid, with John Madrid's Factory Direct.